What's up, guys? Welcome to the Put Me In Coach podcast,
where we go beyond the headlines and deep dive everything NFL.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Andy.
Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Yo, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's happening? I'm good, man. How are you doing? Just getting this mic situated.
I'm good. I'm better than the Dolphins. I'll put it that way.
Oh, most people are better than the Dolphins right now.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. We're going to do a little Thursday night recap. Guys, like, comment, subscribe if you're new here. We're going to be doing these multiple times a week. We'll do game reactions. We'll do previews for the upcoming week. We'll do standalone videos, too, here and there about, like, certain teams or players, you know, fun ideas we have. But we're going to have a ton of content coming out this year. So, you know, give it a follow. Risk it.
Please.
You can always unsubscribe later if you hate it.
Biscuit for the biscuit, baby.
Yeah, right. So look, let's talk about last night. I think the first thing we have to do, it's just obligatory. There are victory laps on our end to be taken here, but I think before we do anything, I think it's in poor taste to not kind of acknowledge the elephant in the room here, which is the Tua stuff. I feel like we shouldn't have to do this. I feel like it's obvious, but you know, we're going to talk a little shit in the second half of this video. And I think you and I both kind of just have such a respect for these players and like what they do to put their bodies on the line, that the idea of like not kind of doing this preamble, it's just necessary, right? Like you just kind of got to get it out of the way. So, you know, it's just the thoughts and prayers stuff doesn't really cover it, but you really hope for the best and you pray for a guy that, by all accounts, is just like a really good character and a really good dude. And although I think we've had our comments on him as a quarterback, that's not really what this is about, right? Like when you see something like that, it's the Cincinnati game all over again. You know, it really is. And so I don't know, man. I hated seeing that, and it's just, you know, it's just prayers and well wishes for him and his health and his family. So I don't know. Get well soon, Tua. That's all that is.
That being said,
on that note,
oh boy, Miami, you guys are in trouble. Just like we said. We said this at the beginning of the season. We said this before it ever started. We said that we didn't believe in your team, that you were a third-place team, that you were not going to make the playoffs. Yep. Now, running a victory lap at 1-1 seems a little premature, does it not? But the reality is your quarterback is not going to play the next 2 weeks, and then, you know, outside of September, you guys look funky in the light every time. And your coach is 1-11 against teams with winning records. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's an offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a head coach. That's my hot take of the night. And I saw him get absolutely and unbelievably outmatched against a defensive coach last night in Sean McDermott, who I'm not very high on either. Yeah, I don't think Sean McDermott is a coach that can get the Bills with you know what is truly the most talented quarterback in the league over the hump of, you know, the combination of probably the overall best quarterback in the league and the best overall coach in the league. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean for Mike McDaniel? You know what I mean? Like if you can't even beat that guy, and you keep getting dog walked by him. And your weapons, you know, obviously you are really good at making a scheme and drawing up a really elite offense. If you can't do that against Buffalo, who are you going to do it against? Because you have to see Buffalo. Well, you're going to have to see Buffalo. You're going to have to see Kansas City. You're going to have to see Baltimore to get to the Super Bowl, right? Like you're going to have to see one of those three teams, maybe a Cincinnati, maybe a New York. I don't know. But you're definitely going to have to see one of those three teams, barring any massive injury. Texans as well. I don't know. What I saw last night was a team that I think will probably yet again fall short of a Super Bowl. But would it shock me in like crazy? Would it like shock me to my core if the Bills came out of the AFC? No, I think they have the best quarterback in the league. But then I watched a team who I've been told for the last 4 or 5 months is a Super Bowl sneaky dark horse pick, and I thought they looked like a college team, frankly, last night. It was bad. James Cook ran all over you. Your defense looked bad. Your offense looked terrible prior to that injury, and then your quarterback got removed from the game and will probably be removed for the rest of the month. So I don't know. That's my little rant. I'll let you cook on it here. I just kind of had to get that off my chest. I'm just not seeing it with this team, and I feel like I've already in week 2 been proven right.
Yeah, and I think there's two conversations to be had here. I think a lot of people believe that Tua should medically retire and he might be out for the year. I don't fall into that camp. I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back in a few weeks. He might, at worst case scenario, I think go on IR. I think they gave him too much money. I think they'll wait for this to blow over. I think they'll do some sort of like heroic rollout for him. Kind of DeMar Hamlin style, right? Where like when he comes back and they'll package it as that, but it's really just Miami trying to cover their losses. I think, if he is out for the year, if he is medically retired, I mean, your best case scenario is your last year's New York Jets. I think your best case scenario is he comes back in, a handful of games and you tread water and you finish with 7 or 8 wins. And I'm basing this off of what I saw before Tua left that game. I saw a guy throw 3 picks. I saw a guy once again who, whenever he goes up against a legitimate defense of any kind, doesn't have to be the best defense in the league, just has to be a top 10 to 12 defense. He's outmatched. He's overwhelmed. He threw 3 interceptions. One of them was to the crib. That was ball game, by the way. And I don't see it. And we did a video earlier in the offseason about our doubt of Tua, and right before the contract was signed, the video was sort of centered around, should they pay him? Here's the arguments, whatever. And a lot of people came at us for that. We had a lot of Dolphins fans, a lot of Tua guys come at us for that. And I wish he was healthy. I wish that never happened last night, because I want him in the lineup just so you guys can be proven wrong. What I'm saying? It feels like before the injury even happened, it felt like, okay, I got it. Like, I don't need any more information. I see what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the same team all over again. And before you go, real quick, what did I say to you when we did our Miami video this offseason? I said, didn't it feel like last year was the best case scenario? And what's happened already? You lost your 2 best interior offensive linemen. The O-line looked like barbecue chicken last night. Raheem Mostert, who led the league in touchdowns last year, at 31 years old, 32 years old, injury history, he's already injured. Tua, we said it. He's 1 hit away. Him staying healthy all year last year was a miracle. Guess what? Now he got another gruesome concussion, and people are asking this guy to retire medically, and the league might have to step in. Tyreek Hill, another year older, more distractions. We told you guys. I mean, the arrest thing, wherever you stand on the police issue, it's another thing. It's another distraction. Jalen Waddle, he's a 2. Like, Jalen Ramsey, another year older. It's just, and he missed a tackle last night that could have been a tackle for loss, where he got into the backfield and he just missed James Cook, completely missed him. And again, this is consistent to what we said this offseason, is that last year you didn't finish, you didn't close, you got boat raced in the playoffs in Kansas City. And I felt like that was the year. Already offensively, it's like, what's this team without Tua and Mostert hurt already in bad offensive line play? I don't see any path forward with this core, and it really sucks because, despite all of our kind of shit talking, I think you and I both really like their head coach as a dude. We like their quarterback as a dude, and it's an exciting football team with some of the most exciting offensive players. Achan's electric. Tyreek Hill's one of the greatest receivers of my generation that I've watched. So it's a bummer, but I'm selling my shares. I'm done. I'm out. And I'm sorry. That's just where I stand on it.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of want to come back around on the Tua thing, because, I've seen a lot of people say, like he should retire, blah, 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 blah. Was he not up and walking to the locker room a minute after this hit happened? I mean, we watched him get carted off. What was that, 2 years ago? And then he played 3 weeks later, correct?
He'll be back.
So why all of a sudden is this the moment where he's got to retire? I guess I don't get that.
I think it's virtue signaling, if you want my honest opinion. I think that's the elephant in the room. I think people are trying to come across like virtuous, good people, and I understand the motive behind it. But you don't.
Yeah, you
And
guys
also,
don't care.
aside from that, you don't get to tell a guy who has made, like, what Tua has done with his life is, it's so respectable and admirable. And, like, you don't get to tell a guy who climbed to that mountaintop as a dude who, frankly, let's be honest, is not that athletically gifted for, like, a pro football player. That he doesn't get to play anymore because you think it's a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to tell this guy he can't play, and he's going to come back. But with every time this happens, the risk gets up and up and up.
Infinitely higher. Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's in trouble.
In our video, I did say, like, he's one hit away from potentially having to medically retire. I guess my thing is I don't feel like that was the hit, right? Like, another concussion's awful, right? You don't wish that on anybody. And again, this is I know it sounds like Tua hate. Tua the person I got no beef with. I think he seems like a really remarkable young man, frankly.
Yeah.
But when we're talking, competitive sport, and I have to analyze these teams, everything I said I stand by. And again, I stand by this as well. Is if Dolphins fans want to take one thing away from it, it's that your quarterback's going to be back. Like that the whole, like, oh my gosh, we have to call Ryan Tannehill. It's like, for what? For 2 weeks? Like, I guess. I don't know. I watched your quarterback stand up and walk to the locker room and be like, dang it. Again, so now if he gets, like, carted off like he did in Cincinnati a couple years ago, now we can have that conversation, right? It's like, all right, that one was bad, right? I mean, we all remember that one. I mean, his head was, like, slammed onto the ground. It looked like it. If anything, it looked like a neck stinger last night. It didn't even look like he hurt his head that much. It looked like his neck bent weird, which can result in, and obviously he's already been given a concussion. We know that that's what happened. But again, it wasn't like that back of his head was slammed onto the ground like we saw. It was just a weird hit again. And things, I mean, look at who hit him, right? Damar Hamlin. Like, we watched him die fully on the field for like 2 minutes. So I don't know. I guess I just feel like everybody who jumped on YouTube last night or jumped on Twitter and was just like, all right, it's time to retire, or like Shannon Sharp saying he needed to retire, Stephen A. It's like, this is ridiculous, guys. Like, let's, like, give it a beat. We didn't watch somebody get carted off. We watched a guy get up and go shake it off and walk off the field.
I'm not here to do that. I think it's corny.
Yeah.
Guys like you and me who chill at the crib watching these games, telling another man who's climbed the mountaintop of pro football and become a starting quarterback in the NFL, who made the money he made this offseason. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Tua should retire. It's like, shut up, loser.
Tua's not stupid, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, it's almost like everybody's looking at him and being like, buddy, hey, buddy, I need you to retire, okay? Let's retire now. It's like, nah, bro, this is a grown-ass man. If he, Andrew Luck had the balls to go up to the podium and say, I can't go through another rehab. I'm just going to call it a day.
He's a different type of dude, man.
I think Tua has those balls as well, right? Like, if Tua, like, wakes up or, talks with his family and comes to the conclusion of, like, all right, this is getting a little funky. I got to think about my life beyond football. That's fine, right? I'm not going to sit there and knock him if for whatever reason he decided to get up to the podium and say, hey, guys, I'm calling it a day. I need to think about my health when I'm 50, not right now. And, there's a part of me that would absolutely respect that. But, again, what I don't respect is a bunch of Joe Schmoes getting online and saying, well, he needs to retire now. Because, no, he doesn't. He can make that decision. He's a big boy. There's a whole team of doctors that will tell him one way or another, whether they're getting paid to tell him one thing or not. He can afford a second opinion with a third party who doesn't have anything to do with the Dolphins. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, to be honest. We'll see, man. Like I said, I hope for the best, because, again, I think football's better when everybody's on the field playing their best football. Or in the Miami's case, not their best football. It doesn't matter to me. I just would rather see him healthy and out there thriving if that's what he wants. So let's flip to the other side.
I was just going to say that
we talked about Miami kind of being cooked, but let's talk about a team that's very much alive and well. It's interesting because another thing, and we're going to do this all year, right? We're going to get some shit wrong. Already have, it seems like. But another thing that we talked about a lot in the preseason was like, I'm not really out on Buffalo. Like, I think Buffalo's going to be what they've been, and I don't feel like they lost anything that like prevents them from being great. First things first, I think Joe Brady has brought a very interesting balance to this offense that has been lacking for the last several years and was lacking under Dorsey, and you saw it in the second half of last year, and it's really continued into this season, really minus the first half of week 1, and I don't care about that. Mm-hmm. And secondly, it feels like Sean McDermott last night kind of proved like why he has that job. Right, because we all been wondering, like, okay, you're not Andy Reid, you're not Sean McVay, you have Josh Allen, like, and I'm with you. I don't really buy him as like a Super Bowl head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, man, he's really, really good. Like, that defense looked phenomenal last night, and if we're just keeping it a buck in terms of what they were calling defensively versus what the Miami Dolphins were calling offensively, they had no answers on offense for that Bills defense. I mean, those receivers were totally in Alcatraz. Tua couldn't get anything downfield. The only thing they could do last night offensively, Miami-wise, was just create mismatches with Devon Achane and the linebackers and just outspeed them. And it was just dink and dunk. It was everything underneath. Greg Rousseau looks amazing. Von Miller looks healthy. I think we haven't seen that in a couple of years. Have we almost circled back into a point where it's just sort of like, okay, Kansas City's the best AFC team until proven otherwise? But is it not kind of quietly just still Buffalo in second place? Like, it was just interesting to kind of see that last night because it was so dominant. Where do you stand on that?
It sure feels that way.
Yeah.
You know, I think you make a good point about Joe Brady, which is, you know, kind of what we had talked about in our Bills recap or our Bills preview for the year, was that Joe Brady was going to bring a balance to this offense that we haven't seen. And if you would, you know, take a look over here at the Cleveland Browns, who did ended up hiring Ken Dorsey, they look completely one-dimensional and got their teeth kicked in by a good Cowboys team. But like, come on, it wasn't even competitive. Cowboys ain't that good, you know. Like they looked like the '95 Cowboys and not the 2024 Cowboys. Yeah, I think you have an emerging superstar in James Cook, depending on kind of how the rest of the year plays out. You know, I don't think he's a 3 touchdown a night guy, but I think he's a touchdown a game guy for sure. I think he's anywhere from 90 to 115 yard guy, no matter what.
And he's versatile.
He can. Yeah. I think we're seeing like I said. I don't want to use the word superstar yet because I hold that at a high regard. You know, I think Christian McCaffrey's a superstar. I don't think James Cook is going to become a superstar, but if he can become a Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a really good place to be in when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen. And man, they just looked like they were cooking last night. Like it wasn't even. They weren't even worried. You know what I mean? It was like it's the Dolphins, you know, and they went into your town, you know. That wasn't in Buffalo. It was in Hard Rock, and they curb stomped you. Now you guys have to go to Buffalo and get curb stomped again. It's crazy, you know what I mean? They looked like they knew the password to your, you know, Facebook account and just went in there and hacked your shit. You know, it's just true. It's just like, get out of here. I'm not threatened by you guys, even kind of.
Yeah, straight
I can
up.
leak the messages myself, right?
Straight up. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too, right? Because now through 2 games, we have almost like this mix of things where you've now seen what it looks like when an opposing team comes out offensively and plays well, and your defense is a little sloppy in the first half, and you need Josh Allen to put the cape on. Well, the good news is you have first championship LeBron James at quarterback. So
100%.
You can kind of do that if need be. But last night, I mean, we saw it. It was a bad night to have Josh Allen in a couple fantasy leagues like I do. But it was still cool to see, like, Josh Allen wasn't even like a part of that game other than sort of dumping the ball off to running backs and letting the defense take care of business. And you can dominate teams when your defense is in the zone. You can dominate teams. You know, I don't think they're going to be a dominant run team because I just don't believe James Cook is a dominant running back. Personally, that's not a shot. I just think he's a good running back, not a dominant one. But it feels like ever since Joe Brady took over, he's always been dynamic, James Cook. But now it's like he knows how to play running back. Like he has vision now. He's making cutback runs. He's running between the tackles efficiently. And we just haven't seen that from him in the past. No. So it's almost like Rachaad White learned how to run the football. And so it's imagine if Rachaad White could run the football. I mean, Tampa Bay would be unstoppable offensively, but he doesn't know how to run the football. And that's kind of been the issue in Buffalo, going back to Zach Moss, going back to, the early days of James Cook. And it's just really interesting to see because now you're in a zone where it isn't that Kansas City territory where it's like, okay, let's just say Josh has a bad half. If our defense holds up, you're not out of the woods, and let's just say we fall down by, they were down 3 touchdowns against Arizona. Mm-hmm. Game wasn't even, by the time that game was over, didn't it kind of almost feel like a blowout in the second half? Kind of, yeah. It was just kind of like they just took over. It was 4 touchdowns from Josh Allen. Last night they didn't need it. So it's like, okay, if Buffalo is going to be able to control the game against good teams and win that way, that's one thing. But if they're not able to control the game like they weren't against Arizona, and Arizona comes out and looks like the better team for almost 3/4 of football, and you still win because you have, like I said, LeBron playing quarterback, I mean, outside of Kansas City, who's beating this team in the AFC if they play like this? It's just an interesting thought. I mean, it's an interesting thought, and I don't. Yeah. They still need somebody to emerge, I think, as the wide receiver 1. But even then, it feels like with the speed of Shakir, the physicality of Samuel, the blocking of Mac Hollins, Kincaid's a really good tight end, and I think Keon Coleman is only going to get better. It's his rookie year. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't need a 1. Maybe they just do this every week and just distribute the ball all over the field. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think the NFL was put on notice last night that Buffalo's not gone anywhere, and it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But I think you and I both agree that it's curtains in Miami for now.
It's bad, dude.
It's bad.
It's bad.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, we're gonna jet out of here. That's the Thursday night reaction, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow with some previews for the week 2 games. So, thank you.